All right, let's get to the Canucks-Oilers game here tonight. We'll get into the series preview a little bit as well, talk about some of the numbers. We haven't dug into this. Obviously, on game day, we're going to be looking at a little bit of different series prices than what might have come out when it opened up. But before we do, and we'll get into series price, the matchup, we'll get into some best bets maybe here as well, and then we'll get into tonight's game and predictions. We talked about with So Money the song that came out for the Canucks and how that might have been a curse that was going to take place. Well, gentlemen, I don't know if you have noticed here today, but the Oilers have now dropped their own. I have not heard it yet. It came out during the show, or it looks like it's come out. It's being brought up during the show. It's getting some reaction from hockey Twitter, so I feel like we should react to this one in real time as a group and see our thoughts and if this might negatively affect the Edmonton Oilers and their ability to win a Stanley Cup this season. So this was from Rob Clark Tenner, an Oilers fan, breaking this one down. Let's get into it here, gentlemen. I'm nervous.
Oh, God.
What the hell?
The Edmonton Opera.
We will be playing La Bamba. 16 wins with La Bamba is necessary. Oilers Nation is ready.
Oh, no.
Oilers Nation is ready. With Skinny and Ned Leon's one-time reppin'. And don't forget Hyman. He's parked in front. He's parked in front and on the hunt.
You know the Oilers are ready.
Okay.
You know McDavid
What the
is ready.
hell?
Your Capitan, your Capitan. Oh, Capitan.
We will be playing La Bamba. 16 wins with La Bamba with Knobloch coaching.
And coffee beside him.
Time to ride the cane train. All aboard, we're standing high up.
Produced by the Edmonton Opera. Yeah.
So
I didn't even know
the
Edmonton
comment
had
in
an
here-
opera. I just learned that Edmonton had an opera today. That's amazing stuff.
So the comment in here that says that's the anthem singer, I'm pretty sure that is the guy that sings the anthem in whatever their arena is in Edmonton. I'm pretty sure that is him. So I wonder if this is some kind of like thing the Oilers had something to do with.
I think we just lost half our live viewership. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, listen, like I'm glad the
That's
Leafs got eliminated from the playoffs, so we didn't have to have a Leafs fight. So, like, if that's what it was going to be, honestly, I've never been more embarrassed in like a minute and a half on air than I was there. That was that. Like, I don't even.
That was miserable. That was terrible. When she started singing, I wasn't expecting. I didn't know it was an opera type thing. I didn't expect that voice. It threw me off. I was like, "That's it. We got to cut it. Like that's it. I can't do it anymore."
They went with the La Bamba cover as well.
Yeah,
like, of all the songs
honestly,
to choose.
I don't know why. Like, what compels fans of teams to do shit like this? Like the Habs had one for their playoff run like 10 years ago, and it was like these two dudes on the roof, like rapping almost and like half French, half English. It was like some boats and hose type style film video. It was terrible. And it honestly, like, I don't get why these things happen. Happy for so long that this happened though, because this just pulled the Canucks right back into this series. So that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I mean,
Vancouver's
in
very
form.
live now. Yeah, Vancouver's very live
Very live.
right now.
Yeah.
Can't do stuff like that. Oh God.
Well, if you're looking at the Canucks, you want to get behind them in this series. You can find a plus 217 over at Pinnacle. You see the Oilers minus 256 here right now. The Canucks obviously very in control of the Oilers this regular season, 4-0 against them 4 times that they played this year. Boys, are we riding the cane train tonight?
Oh.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't know they
as far
play
as the
La
series
Bamba
goes,
after every win. I wasn't
Yeah,
aware that was like their win song. I'm usually not up late enough.
So sorry, it goes back to, I forget his name. I don't want to say the kid, but it goes back to the kid that passed away last year, I believe.
I remember him. Yes.
Yeah.
Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben,
Was it Ben?
Stelzer.
Ben.
I think Stelzer.
Yes.
Was his name,
Yeah.
Them playing La Bamba is cool. I like when they do it. It's like a pretty cool atmosphere in the arena and stuff like that. And like obviously the story behind it is great. Just like I see in the chat there, Connor. Like it's like when the Blues, play Gloria. That was great.
Yeah.
But they didn't fucking change the words and make it dumb. Like it would just
No.
play the song. Just have the song be our anthem, and that's like a cool thing that like the Canucks do, where the streets have no name. They don't rejig the lyrics to like make it 10 times worse. I like
Agreed.
the fact that you have like an old song as your like team anthem, but just don't change it up. That's it.
Sing the song in the arena. Do what the German fans do with Country Roads, Take Me Home, right? Like that's electric when that stuff happens in arena. But yeah, outside of it, it's listen, I'm not like, I don't want to be the no fun guy. You can have fun. To me, that was extremely cringe to watch. I'm not an Oilers fan. Maybe Oilers fan base might enjoy it a little bit more. If that was my fan base, like if that was the Leafs and they made a song like that, I might consider picking like another franchise to root for after watching something like that.
Yeah, that was tough. Well, let's dig into the series prices here. As I had just mentioned out on Pinnacle, Oilers minus 256, the Canucks plus 217. Rob, based on how these two teams match up and how you might see this series going, what are your thoughts on where we see the number at right now? Obviously, again, it is game day of game one of the series, so it's going to be mostly bet into shape, but do you see any value on either side? Have you already partaken in this number at all, or in this series at all?
So I have a small edge on Vancouver in this series. It's hard to price because they say Demko could be available after game 4 in this series. I don't know what's going to happen overall, but I do think it's a little bit mispriced. We have the 3 matchups from them earlier this year. They don't tell us much because they happened so early in the season. They played a back-to-back first 2 games of the year. It's really challenging to dig into this, but like for me, what stands out of the first round series, I thought Vancouver looked like shit, and they won their series. Now, that's not to discredit them. I think it was the style of play of Nashville that caused them to look that way. Like Vancouver just really could not break Nashville down, and the Preds forced them to play around on the perimeter and not get a lot of shots through. I think this is going to be wide open. I really do. I think Vancouver and Edmonton both think that they could skate with the other team, build trade chances. I'm surprised the total is only 6, honestly, for game 1. I like the over here. Part of what makes me like the over here on top of that is if we look at these teams in the first, like Edmonton went 12 for 12 on the penalty kill. The Canucks went 20 for 22 on the penalty kill. These are teams that didn't have good penalty kills in the regular season. And I think that's kind of suppressed the price, but you're going to get a lot of power play chances because that typically happens in game 1, and 2 penalty kills that are frankly just very average overall. So I like the over. I think we're going to see goals. And you look at the 3 matchups earlier in the year, and you look at the expected goals in those games. I mean, at least one team got to 4.25 expected goals in all 3 of those games. There's going to be chances. That's what these teams do. I think there's going to be open ice. And because of the hate, maybe between these fan bases and like the rivalry between the teams, I think you're going to see some penalties early on as well, where like teams are looking to take the body, and you'll get guys on these teams that will do stupid shit early on in this series to set the tone. And that's just going to lead to even more power play opportunities. So I like the over game 1 here. I don't think this is properly priced, in my opinion. I think that's like a 2.5% edge there on this over.
We'll lock in over 6 minus 113 for tonight's game 1 of the series. We'll recap all the bets that we've given out on the show at the very end of the show. Moretto, you recently became a Canuck after bailing off of the Predators in round 1 there. Is that support going to maintain here through round 2?
So series-wise, full series-wise, I am a little bit more optimistic about the Canucks' chances than the market is. I'm not on the Canucks in this series, but there are some plus 1.5s at like plus 120 that I really do like, and that I've just been sitting around kind of waiting to see. I don't think that price is going anywhere. I think it's possible you can get even better before the series starts, especially with the Demko news and stuff. So I'm just kind of waiting. But like the thing for me, I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit with Rob's over bet here. I'm not on the under. I don't necessarily like the under, but I find it hard to get on an over here because of the fact that, yes, maybe the hate between these two teams leads to some more power plays and stuff. I think Tocchet is going to be like, I think Tocchet's very well aware of the fact that the Oilers power play will absolutely kill you. And I think they're going to put a real emphasis on playing disciplined hockey and not letting the Oilers get those opportunities, because at 5-on-5, the Canucks can absolutely hang with the Oilers. That's the way that they're going to have a chance in this series. I think the Canucks are going to need to just play most of this at 5-on-5. And honestly, like, yes, maybe they can skate with the Oilers and stuff. But again, just playing devil's advocate, I don't think they want to. I don't think they want to open things up and let McDavid and let those, the Oilers roll their 3-4 lines in that high octane offense, because ultimately that's just not a path to the Canucks winning this series or being successful. Maybe they can hang with them at times for spurts and like whatever, but without Demko and net to bail them out, I think they have to play a little bit different and approach this differently, where it's not like, let's open things up a little bit and let's go back and forth because we have Demko to bail us out here. I think it's going to be a little bit more the opposite, where, hey, we don't have Demko. We don't want to let the Oilers just come down on us time and time again and, pepper Silvos. So I do think that they're going to approach this a little bit differently, and they're going to, because at 5-on-5, they are good at defending the slot. They're good at keeping out chances. They're good at suppressing shots. So I think that that's what they have to lean into. Whether or not they do, I'm not sure. But I mean, I do firmly believe in Tocchet. I think Tocchet's a great coach. I think he'll have a really good game plan for this series. And in my opinion, that's just how I would approach it. So that's kind of a bit more what I expect. So yeah, I'm not on the under or anything like that, but that's why I personally am not on an over here. And I think that I think the Canucks are going to play this very smartly, and they're going to make this more of a street fight than the Oilers got in the first round, and they're not going to let the Oilers play their style of hockey. And I think that I think that lends itself to getting +1.5, +120-ish on the Canucks in this series. I think is a very good bet, especially if they can keep things a little bit tight early on and then get Demko back. I think you're looking at a pretty valuable position there.
If anyone was wondering what numbers So Money is made on the series, he's chimed in the chat here. Series Oilers 98%, Oilers in 4. And so if you're wondering the direction that he's going, there you go. There's his numbers. So Money, pantsless. Our friend in the chat, Peter Panic, pantsless. And based on the amount of lotion in his room on a regular basis, Alber probably also pantsless. Are you pantsless for the Canucks in this series?
I mean, I was going to be very nice to So Money here and even say I think the Oilers are going to finish this quick. And then he said the Rangers should be banned for the playoffs. So I think the Canucks win this in 4. I do agree with Rob's over. I kind of threatened him a little bit before with I'm going to give out the over 2 and just mush the hell out of your bet if you talk bad about the Rangers. He was a little wishy-washy, so not sure what we want to do on that front. My one concern with the over would be kind of what Moretto was saying, that like I think Tocchet's going to have them very well prepared that they can't take penalties against the Oilers, or they're just going to suffer the same fate that LA did. And also, like, you could clearly see the Canucks in the last series, like they knew once Demko went down that they had to play a little different, and they just went to very low event hockey. I don't know if that strategy would work against the Oilers here. I think if anything, like they may even want to like try to open it up at 5-on-5, and like especially when you don't have the McDavid line out there, and see if they can maybe score that way. I don't know. I think it's going to be very interesting to see kind of how they approach it, because I could see them really going either way. I could see them being like, you know what, we'll take our chances. We'll try to open it up a little bit. We know you're going to get yours anyway. We'll make sure we get ours. Or maybe they go the other way and say, like, we're just going to try to play super low event here, and maybe we can keep this to 2-1, 3-2 kind of games and hope for the best. So I don't know. I'm very excited to see how the Canucks will approach this series. But I do lean the over here.
I think the Canucks D is way overrated after the Preds. Like you like it's much different defending Luke Evangelista and Colton Sissons and Tommy Novak and Kiefer Sherwood and Mark Jankowski. Like this is a different beast in my opinion. Like that team cannot pick up speed in the neutral zone, Nashville, period. Like watching, honestly, and I'm just saying this as a purist hockey fan, not to slag either team. Parts of Canucks Preds were unwatchable for me. I don't think I've turned away from a hockey series more than I did for that series. It was just brutal. It was two teams that were like scared to make a mistake, but neither of the teams could capitalize on what the other team was doing. Edmonton is extremely fast through the neutral zone. And it's not just McDavid and Draisaitl, it's also their defensemen, which is a big difference for me. They got guys that can skate with the puck, like Bouchard, Nurse. I don't think, even if the Canucks employ the game plan that they want to and like try to shut it down like they did Nashville, I don't think they're going to have success doing that. I think they honestly want to play I agree with you, Matt. Like, I think when they get the like line 3 and line 4, and by the way, Adam Henrique probably out today for the Oilers as well. I think the Canucks are going to be pressing to try to score in this game. I don't think anyone in that dressing room thinks that they cannot play a high-scoring game with Edmonton. They've done it this year. They scored 8 goals on them in the first game of the season. They scored 6 in another game at home. They won 6-2. Like, they've done it. They know they can score on this team. I get the other points. It's the first game of the series. Maybe you see some hesitation, but I don't think Vancouver can just like drop into a defensive shell and win this game. I don't think that's a viable strategy for them.
I will say that first game, those first meetings were pre-firing of Woodcroft. And not that Woodcroft was the problem, but yeah, Campbell was like basically couldn't buy a save. I think they might have scored 8 goals on 8 shots.
Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah, I mean, like, I agree, obviously agree with that. Like, I think Tocchet kind of knows that, yeah, you can try to keep the Oilers are going to get theirs. And I think, like, he's a good enough coach to understand that that the Oilers are going to get their goals and that they have to find a way to score. So, yeah, no, I do agree with opening up a little bit, obviously.
All right, I want to ask you guys final thing here before we move off of this series and wrap things up. Let's get predictions. Who wins? How many games? We got to do it. Rob, we'll start with you. What is the outcome of this series?
Oilers are going to win in 7 games.
Alber?
Rangers in 5. I'll go Oilers in 6.
You're gonna kick this guy out of here. Moretto?
Oilers in 7. I do think the Oilers ultimately pull through here. I think this is their year to make a deeper run, but it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a street fight, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun watching these two fans go back and forth on Twitter too.
Yeah.
I think
Oilers...
people underrate the Canucks. I really do.
Yeah.
I think the Canucks are underrated, but they also are a fan base that will inevitably suffer massive heartbreak, whether that's losing this series in 7 or the conference finals, or they will lose a series in 7 games.
Repeat of 94.
Yeah. I don't think the Oilers, I don't think the Canucks are a great team, but I think they're a very difficult team to beat. They can just play good hockey and they can make life really difficult on opponents. So I think that, and look, the Oilers are no strangers to making life difficult on themselves either in the playoffs. So, we're talking about the Oilers like they're this, and they're in terms of this roster and everything, they are a juggernaut, but they like to make things a bit more difficult on themselves, at this time of year. So I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk by any means.
All right, I'll go with Oilers in 6 here as well. That's my final prediction on this one. So we'll wrap that up. Series preview for the Canucks Oilers and play La Bamba. We can have that. We'll maybe incorporate that remix into the show daily, especially whenever you guys come up here. So for our bets today,
I can't think of something I care less about than the Oilers. God. Maybe the Drake Kendrick Lamar beef. That's probably like the lowest on the list of stuff I care about in life.
Yes.
But then the Oilers fight song or La Bamba song would be like right after that.
If Boston beats Vancouver in 7 Cup finals, I think we're gonna need to do some like hourly wellness checks on so money.
You're gonna have to do wellness checks on me because they'll probably have beaten the Rangers to get to that point. So
that would be one of the rare times for a Canadian.
We're all gonna need wellness checks if that happens.
Yeah, I listen. I'll be honest, as a Leafs fan, I don't know if most Canadians are like this, but I actually think that they are. I don't actually want a Canadian team to win the cup. That just like I never root for Canadian teams after they go out. But if either Vancouver or Edmonton play Boston in the finals, I would make a rare exception to root for a Canadian team. I don't know why Americans think. Yeah, I don't know what. Like Wyshynski does it every year, right?
Yeah.
Like all the Canadian teams are out. They haven't won. I'm like, that's great. Like I don't want to see the rest of these.
Perfect.
Is there a reason
we actively cheer for other
head.
Canadian teams as if I don't give a shit if another. This is a year where like I'd be down for the Oilers to win the cup because I love McDavid. I want to see McDavid get a cup. So like but it's not because they're a Canadian team. Like I wanted I love McKinnon. I wanted the Avs to win the cup. A few years ago that was great. I think people lose sight of the fact too that like these American teams are loaded with Canadian players anyways. I mean, like look at half these teams that are at the top of the league. Like they have a ton of Canadian players. I don't give a shit if if some Canadian team wins. Frankly, I hate most other Canadian fan bases. So I want the next Canadian team.
So
Edmonton is a very Canadian team. Edmonton's roster is highly Canadian.
Yes, it is.
It would have to be maybe the highest in the entire league. So there's that. And then also, like, if McDavid wins a cup this year, he will have fulfilled his duties to the city of Edmonton, and he can come home to Toronto in a few years when his contract expires as well. So there's that. And I would like to see Edmonton win with McDavid so that he can come back home.
So you two basically said different things when it comes to this Canadian thing. Are we actively rooting against Canadian teams, or do we just not care?
I don't want a Canadian team to win the cup. I don't.
See, those are two very different.
Yeah, those are two different things. Yes, they are different things.
Yeah.
What is the thought behind not like specifically rooting against them?
Because all your friends are cheering for other Canadian teams is the problem.
Okay.
You think I want to hear Matt Russell and So Money for the rest of my life about Vancouver winning the cup? No, my best friend's an Oilers fan. I went to watch the Oilers in Ottawa this year, secretly betting the Senators in that game, a game where they had like 10 shots on goal. They somehow won. I don't want a Canadian team to win, period, because it's just like one Canadian franchise will just rub it in the faces of the rest of the Canadian franchises more than any U.S. team would. However, you get a team like Boston in the finals. I hate Boston.
Whoever their fan base
faces
sucks.
them. Yeah, I sorry, any Bostonians.
I'm not
very
sorry.
racist city. They always beat the Leafs every year. That contributes to it. So, like,
I think that's all of it, to be honest with you. But yeah,
that's a large part.
He's like listing these other reasons as if it's not because they just shit on the Leafs every year.
Oh yeah, it's because of this and that. It has nothing to do with the fact that they've beaten us in 4 Game 7s in the last 11 years.
Yeah.
All right, Alber, I'm done with you today. I let you off the hook. It was Zach throwing the shots at you today. Next Wednesday is going to be very different. Very different.